Like, we don't interact with most of the other species out there.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just saying that's besides my point to the ocean, though, is that most of those creatures somebody else has interacted with.
Yeah.
In other words, all, like, let's say elephants. I've never seen an elephant out in the wild, but people in Africa have. Like, the world's created for everybody.
I get what you're saying. I got what you're saying.
Has, but as far as the ocean goes, very, very, very few people have enjoyed the pleasure of seeing all the creatures or seeing a lot of creatures in the ocean.
Maybe the ocean was just designed to freak people out. Like, think about it. Imagine if you're an islander and you live down an island, and every once in a while something would wash up on the beach that's completely fucking like different, and you're like, holy shit, what is that?
A lot of old stories come from old mythological creatures come from sightings of creatures from the ocean, like sailor stories.
Dude, if I was like living in Hawaii, because think about Hawaii.
Like the Kraken comes from a squid, like a giant squid attacked a ship, and that's how the Kraken was born. And all of a sudden sailors exaggerate it, and legend or stories become legends.
You don't even have to exaggerate it, though. If I was let's just say I was living in a tribe on one of these, like near the beach anywhere, pretty much, and you live on the beach and you spend a lot of your time. Like, think about it. At least a few times in your lifetime, there'd be a bunch of things washing up on shore that nobody's ever seen before, and your only real logical explanation is like, this is like out
of this world,
something from out of this world, or the gods, sent this to us as like a sign. Like, I couldn't explain it. Just like this new thing just washed up. It's completely fucking weird.
Yeah, it is crazy too how scientists, like in modern society, all of the discoveries that people have made, if you were to take them back a couple eras, then that it would be straight up magic.
Yeah.
Like, if you literally just took hydrogen peroxide, like we were talking about earlier, if you just took a couple medicines back in time, let's say medieval time, you'd be the sorcerer of that time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, he has a cut, he's going to die. And then along comes Gilbert with some hydrogen peroxide, and here's a potion. He sprays this potion on you, and he's magically healed. It only took 2-3 weeks, but look at this potion. It works miracles,
Yeah. Well,
something straight out of science fiction to them.
People are wondering if that's what all the UFOs people have been citing is basically just advanced technology that, we can only really describe as magic, right? Or as like extraterrestrial life right now, and it might be. I mean, my money is on it being that, but...
What do you mean, dude? It's center earthers.
Okay.
It's center earthers coming out of the volcanoes. Are you retarded?
Which one specifically?
Don't you know this, dude? Don't you know this? This is facts.
I thought it was flat Earth. I didn't know we believed in center Earth now.
There's actually almost as big of a following from center Earth as there is flat earthers.
Really?
Yeah. Center earthers are huge.
Nobody's been to the center of the Earth, though.
I know. Nobody's been to the edge of the world either. Okay.
except for Richard Branson or whatever his name is, and who's the CEO of Apple or Amazon?
Jeff Bezos?
Jeff Bezos. Except for Jeff Bezos.
What do you mean? He went to the center of the Earth?
No, he went to space.
Oh, he went to space recently, though.
Yeah. Oh, I was saying, you said no one's been to the edge of the Earth. I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think a couple people have been up there.
Well, that's not the edge. I'm talking like you can't go to the edge because it's not freaking flat. Okay.
Oh.
But what's funny is if you look into the center Earth theory, it's hilarious that people will believe like there's facts to support anything in life, and you can just choose. Like, everybody's bombarded with information, and you can just take whatever you want to believe from any given conversation or any given information, right? But their theories backing up the center Earth is pretty solid. Let's say, like, it's cool to look into it. Not like I believe it, but it's just cool how far they'll go to back up this theory. You know, and all the different discoveries of giants and where giants come from, and biblical. You'll get into religion, and they'll pull up biblical verses and translate them to fit their narrative, and all these different things. And like flat earthers will take that God gathered the people from the four corners of the earth. That's a given. It's flat. You can't gather people there. If the world was a globe, there are no corners. So how could he gather the people from four corners? That's how they talk about it. And then he set the earth upon a pillar. There's a verse in the Bible about that. And then if he set it on pillars, Like, how can you set a globe? It's obviously flat, and it's pillars, like you set them on pillars. So means it's a big plane, and there's pillars underneath us holding us up.
It's like a foundation, like you put cinder blocks
yeah,
over the flat Earth.
There's all these different, and then scientifically, it's the stars are sound waves traveling through water, because when God said He put water in the heavens, and then He put the stars in the firmament. That's what He was talking about, is the sound waves in the firmament are what create stars. I don't know if you know that, but like if you put sound waves in water, they'll actually emit a light that is almost a certain frequency. It'll emit a light that actually does look, oddly enough, it looks just like a star. So they'll twist anything, though, to make a sound like that, and then try backing it up with anything. And like the more you read into it, it's like, wow, these are actual, scientific and biblical facts. How can you not? But then you'll go to somebody who's
actually knows anything,
who's not insane, and you'll talk to him.
Wow, I think you just called a lot of people out, Cole.
You'll talk to normal people, and then they'll back it, like Howard tried. They'll debunk it, right? They'll debunk it with obviously the Bible phrases things. They use parables. And if they're talking four corners of the earth, that's just to talk about the four corners of nations. It's the four corners. Everything has a corner. And like, how would you say it if you how else could it have been phrased?
Yeah. To
talk about the whole world. And it's just interesting. I've had these two conversations. I literally have two uncles. One was a flat earther and one's a sane human being. And then I'd have this conversation with them both, and it was just cool to hear their perspectives. How the seasons change and everything, and they're both, oh my gosh, I got them both heated and talking about it, and it was interesting.
That's
but
cool.
But center earthers talk about how. So we've been taught from a young age that there's a mantle underneath the earth, and the crust and the mantle, and as it goes down to the core is like as hot as the sun. There's a core, and that's how we get warmth and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But scientists have actually recently kind of started changing that, because they've said now that it's not what they thought. It's not mantle right underneath there. We're on water. We're all floating on water, right? And since we're all floating on water, they don't even really know for a fact what's past that water. That water is just an unimaginable depth of water.
Hold on, opposing theory to that. What if we are the firmament or whatever? What if there is a hollow earth, and the hollow earthers are looking up at us?
I was literally about to get to that.
Okay.
So like I was saying before, that flat earthers will use the stars up in the firmament as foundation for their argument. So the hollow earthers use that same thing, that there's water down there, and they don't really know what's past the water with the seismographs, and that's the only really reliable tool that has been invented to be able to see below the earth. Mm-hmm. Right, is a seismograph. So using those tools,
a seismograph. What exactly is a seismograph?
It sends out sound waves,
and then they
deep
bounce
into the
back.
earth, and then they bounce back, and you can, based off of the sound waves, you can kind of see, like radar, you can see what's underneath there.
How does
that's how they find oil and stuff.
Just hit the top layer of dirt and then come back immediately?
No, hell no. It penetrates, sends like a pulse down into the ground, and then based on vibrations. So if you have loose dirt, it'll vibrate less, right? Or it goes past the dirt, and then let's say it hits water, it'll travel faster all of a sudden. They know, okay, so now it's traveling super fast right there. That's water, that's oil, that's this.
How did they get the return signal?
It bounces
back
and then it reads
point?
them. Yeah,
Okay.
It bounces back, which sends it down and bounces back. But anyway, so they're saying that basically this one guy was talking about it, and according to him, it's not like it's a reliable source. I'm not going to quote the name, but he's just trying to back up the hollow earth theory, so it's not credible.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out
But he's saying that since seismographs have been out, all they've really been able to discover down there is really just water.
Yeah.
And it's like an unimaginable depth of water that all the earth is floating on. So who's to say that there's really a core down there?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of scientists don't even believe there's really a core of magma down there now.
They don't know what's down there.
Yeah,
They've assumed it was magma for a long time.
Yeah, they really don't know.
Yeah.
So he's saying that now the biblical verse that the water is up in heaven and the firmament, that backs up his theory of hollow earth, that there is hollow earthers living down there, and that the water surrounds them. And it wasn't talking about us on the surface. It was talking about these people in the hollow earth, and that most of the Bible took place in this hollow earth, and that now we're outside of it. And that's why we don't have all these what's the word, like we don't have all this proof.
We don't have
that it existed.
So that's okay. So first of all, I think all this is probably bullshit, but that's an interesting story because I've wondered that too. Where allegedly is the Garden of Eden? People said, "Oops." Make sure it's still going. Where's the Garden of Eden supposed to be? Because apparently God took Adam and Eve out of the Garden of Eden, right? Out of the Garden of Eden, and then sent them out onto Earth, right? Right? That's like how, where was the Garden of Eden supposed to be according to theologians?
It's supposed to be in Ethiopia. Ethiopia, as I pronounce that.
Yeah.
Ethiopia.
Yeah, it's an African country.
I think it was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was in Ethiopia. Is where they.
But what if that would actually make way more sense? That the Garden of Eden was in the center of the earth, surrounded by the firmament, because God created the earth. He separated the heavens from the earth. He created the firmament. Blah 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 blah. Basically, created a pocket of air in the middle of the planet. Put all the people inside of it. Said, "Hey, live inside this planet. You're protecting this planet. You don't have radiation from the sun. You don't have, you're protected from asteroid impacts. You don't have to deal with weather." And if there is weather, it's probably tightly controlled weather because you're basically inside of a big, freaking, humongous space. And
spaceship.
Yeah, basically a big spaceship is exactly what it is. Set everybody up inside of there, and then once they started fucking around with what he had going on inside of his science project, he's like, "Fuck you guys! Here's a better theory."
You do know that they actually even according to religion, the whole Adam and Eve story is nothing more than a fable, right?
According to who?
According to Joseph Smith.
Well, you know what? I don't believe in Joseph Smith.
What?
I believe in the Christian story of it all. And the Christians have told me all my life the Christians have told me all my life that Adam and Eve is I'm pretty sure Christians in general believe Adam and Eve is a real thing. I've never heard anybody say, "Oh, it's a fable they made up."
Okay, well, it's not. They don't. And even in Mormonism, they don't think that Adam and Eve is not true. It's a fable. The way the story is told it's told in story form. It's not a historical. In fact, most of the Old Testament is stories.
Look,
it's not until the Old Testament.
I'm not here to prove the story's right or wrong. I'm here to create an add-on to the story to make it better. This is Gilbert's alternate biblical history.
Okay.
Listen, here's what's going on.
Yeah.
There is a creator.
Yeah.
He created the earth.
Okay.
He separated the earth from the water. He separated the waters from the earth. He created the firmament. What he did is he went out and he found a planet, or created a planet, and he said, "I'm going to put things inside this planet. I'm going to build this really badass, cool Garden of Eden inside the center of this planet that's in the solar system."
Yeah.
And so he starts building a cool garden. I mean, I don't know how gravity works at the center of the Earth. I'm assuming it's 0G there, right? Because you're getting pulled in all directions. I'm assuming it's 0G. So he builds this badass 0G garden in the middle of a planet. Pro designer here creates all these species, all these animals, makes everything covered in water because I'm assuming if you get further enough, I'm just assuming this. I don't know how gravity works. I'm not a scientist, but I'm just assuming if you're in the center of the Earth, there's no gravity. But if you get closer, like say the Earth is right here, and then you're in the center, you're getting pulled equally in all directions, so you would just float in the center, right? I'm assuming this is how this works. But if you didn't, say you went too far this way, boop, swimming pool, bro, everything's water. No, I'm laughing. I know I'm laughing, but this is actually a great theory. Everything's water because it's a fucking garden, and I'm sure there's a way to get back. And so he has like this badass fucking big, humongous ball that everyone lives inside of, and it's all a big swimming pool, and I'm sure there's land. Actually, better theory. they're inside of the earth, and they're not in the center of the earth. They're actually on the edge, and they can walk around because the gravity's pulling them out. So they can walk around the inside of this freaking beach ball, and they could just cruise around, do whatever they want, protected from the elements, no radiation, completely climate controlled. God put in whatever he needed to put in there to make it great.
Yeah.
And then all his reject species that he's kind of like muscle, like he made the dinosaurs. He's like, they don't really jive that well in here. They're stepping on all my plants. Throws them on the outskirts of the earth. Puts in some other animals. Hey, these are kind of cool. Oh, I fucked up this dolphin. It was supposed to be more
but God
intelligent
don't make
than
mistakes.
this. Well, God experiments. God experiments. Decides certain animals he wants, certain ones he doesn't. All the rejects he throws onto the surface. They're just chilling on the surface. His piece de resistance, or whatever it is, his perfect design that he designs after himself, after he makes his badass garden with all the animals, he puts them in the inside, Adam and Eve. And for some reason he includes the tree. We don't know why. Maybe the tree was actually just like access to like whatever
It's
whatever
a tree
he
of
used to
life.
control it. Whatever the case is, I don't know what the tree of life is supposed to resemble, or is supposed to represent in this current analogy. But he basically puts these people in there. He doesn't like what they're doing, decides to cast them out, throws them onto the surface, and probably puts new things in there. And so where his story with the humans in the garden ended, it probably started for a new species. There's probably a better version of us. There's probably fairies and giants and gnomes and all kinds of things living in center Earth. So my grandma tells me, she says it's Middle Earth, just like in Lord of the Rings, and that's where the Shire and Sauron and all the hobbits live. No, I'm being serious. She says that.
She thinks that?
She thinks
So your grandma's crazy?
She's not crazy, but she's told me all my life that's where Middle Earth is a real thing, and it's in the center of the earth. But basically, we're God's rejected children. He put us out here and said, hey, if you can learn to live according to my ways, then I'll take you back and I'll put you in the garden later on. But you guys are just... Something went wrong there. You guys didn't do what I said.
Okay, my only comment, as good as a theory as that is, that's good, Gil. I love it. Okay, good theory. But no, all I was saying is that a lot of the stories in the Bible are meant to be told in story form.
Yeah.
Like the actual history of what happened, it's not written down. It's just legends and stories and stuff, right? And the whole Adam and Eve. Like even God creating the world in 6 days. I mean, Mormons don't really even believe that. You know what I mean? They don't think that the world was created for the most part. You know?
I don't believe any of it, but do you know what my theory is for why the stories exist, why the Bible exists?
Why?
Because I've read, not the whole Bible, but I've read a bunch of it, and I think, well, first of all, people remember stories. People don't really remember facts and data. They remember stories, and they remember things in story form, which is why people with like really like people that can memorize things like lists of numbers and
they always remember it.
They remember it in a story form. So like that's the main trick to most people with like these crazy good memories. I was watching a TED Talk forever ago, and it was by somebody that like had all these tricks for remembering things. And the example he used, I don't remember, so long ago I don't remember the exact video, but what he used was, he said he took a bunch of participants into a room and he told half of them separately. He said, there's a guy and his last name is Baker. Just remember that there's a guy and his last name is Baker. And I'm butchering this, I don't know if this is exactly how it went, but there's a guy and his last name is Baker. He told the other half, he said, there's a guy who's important and what he does for a living is he's a baker. And he basically said it's important to remember that. And then basically he did like this whole conference or whatever, and I don't know if this is the exact story, but at the end he asked the people, what was the name of the guy I told you a couple hours ago? And nobody could remember the name Baker. But he asked the people what the occupation of the guy was, and it was pretty easy to remember the guy was a baker. Because when you say the guy's a baker, you automatically envision somebody baking bread in a bakery. And so you attach like a concept and like an actual image with it, but then somebody with the last name of Baker, it could be Johnson, it could be Jones, it could be Thompson, it could be anything, and it's hard to remember names, which is why when somebody tells you a name and you're trying to remember it, you have to associate it with something else in order to remember the name.
Yeah.
So my theory is the reason, if I was a guy in a tribe thousands of years ago, and I came up with a specific set of rules to live my life by, that I just, if I was a smart guy and I was living in a tribe with a bunch of other freaking illiterate, uneducated humans, and I started noticing it, because I paid attention, I was really observant, and I said, you know what? Over my lifetime, I've noticed that certain things make sense, and certain things, if we continue to do in our tribe, it actually makes us better as people. Certain rules that we can follow, and I think it'd make us better as a tribe is if we continue to do this generation after generation, because history tends to be cyclical. People tend to be cyclical by nature. They get in a routine and a habit, and they keep doing things. So maybe they start out doing good things and being honest and being fair, and then eventually, societies just break down naturally. So people think, hey, I'm in a tribe, I've noticed that things tend to break down at this certain point. I want people to stop breaking down at this point. I want civilization to stop breaking down at this certain point that we reach, that things start to fall apart. And I need to find a way to teach people to remember to do certain things for certain reasons. The best way to get people to remember to do and to perform certain actions, especially when they don't have writing, especially when they don't have like a written language, they just have stories that they pass down. The only way to get people to remember things and continue to practice things generation after generation is to create stories around concepts and teach people the stories, and then as they remember the stories and retell them, they continue to find meaning in them, which is why Jesus talked in parables. The reason he talked in parables wasn't because, I'm assuming it wasn't because he was just trying to be, I'm so cool, look, you have to decipher what I'm saying. The reason he spoke in parables is because you don't necessarily remember word for word what he said, but you remember the story. Yeah. And if you remember the moral of the story, you'll pass it on to other people, and the other people can remember the story as well. And I think that's the main reason for most of the stories in the Bible. The reason they continued to exist for so long is because they were the successful stories that continued to be told, regardless of whether they're true or not. And I don't know how many of them are actually true. I think the reason the Bible's been so successful just as a written document, whether you believe it or not, it has been very successful as a written document. It's managed to survive and be very important for thousands and thousands of years, regardless of where you stand on the authenticity of it. I know that you probably you're more religious than I am, but I think regardless of where you stand on whether it's true or fabricated or what its purpose is, I think the reason it has been successful is because it's actually able to basically just remain interesting. It's interesting to people, and if it wasn't interesting, then we would have left it behind a long time ago.
Well, I don't know even about it being interesting. I think it is a manuscript for how to live a life. It's how to live a happy life. Most people are just trying to be happy at the end of the day. And if you live by what the Bible teaches, and it's a manuscript of how to be happy.
Do you feel like it's actually good at teaching people how to be happy, though, overall?
I think it all depends on your view. A lot of people look at the Bible and they read it, and again, like I said before, you can have any given information and give it to two different people, and they'll take two different things out of it. You know what I mean? A lot of people will look at negative stories in the Bible, and instead of seeing the good and living their life like that, they'll actually see the negative, and they're only trying to see the negative.
Yeah. Give me an example.
Okay, let's say the story of Job.
Where he
lost
everything.
He lost everything as a test to his faith, right?
Sure.
That's a classic story.
Yeah, that's actually a great story.
It's a classic story, right? God takes everything from him: his family, his wife, his kids, dead, his riches, everything from him as a test to his faith, because Satan's trying to prove that he could take over any soul, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Job remains faithful through it all. Well, a lot of people will take that story and say, well, why does an innocent man, who he was innocent, who was living a righteous life, be tested in such a way that's unjust? and
So they're saying, hey, fuck whoever
yeah,
created
like,
us. He's an
why,
unjust
like,
God.
yeah, exactly. You know,
Punished
there's,
us. People do the same thing with Abraham and Isaac.
Yeah,
like why would God have Abraham go sacrifice Isaac? That's so stupid. What's up with that God? He's an evil God. Basically, people. I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
basically.
and a lot of people will take that story and instead of saying, looking at Job like you need to have the faith of Job, and as an example of true faith, they look at that story and they take the negative out of it of who would do that to such an innocent man. I don't want to worship a God that's like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But his ways aren't your ways. You know what I mean? And
well, sorry, what? Did I cut you off?
no.
Well, what I was saying is that, I think that's actually a really good story. I actually know the story of Job better than a lot of the other stories in the Bible, and it actually means something a little more personal to me, the story of Job, and I actually feel like the story of Job's helped me. And it's interesting because the reason I know it so well is because Robert E. Heinlein, he's a really great sci-fi author from like the 70s or 80s. He wrote I think he's dead now, but he wrote a bunch of really good books, and I got into him. But Robert E. Heinlein writes a book called Job, A Comedy of Justice. It replicates the story of Job from the Bible.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this exact same story. It's interesting you brought it up, and the reason I think that Job is kind of an important story because I think in general, religion aside, and it's, you know, it teaches you persistence. It teaches you that, hey, even though you could literally experience the worst, like Job's, what did his wife and his freaking all his kids and everything just basically disappeared and got, you know, killed off, died. What's the exact story? What happened to him? What happened? Because he was like a rich man that had a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, he was a wealthy man who put all of his faith in God.
And he lost it all.
And then Satan came along, and here's a condensed version. The condensed version, Satan basically comes along and says, hey, I can corrupt any soul. Like, if I really wanted to, if you let me loose, I could corrupt any soul. Right,
because he's God has basically God at this point.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So basically, he's talking to God, and he says, "If you let me, I could corrupt him, but since I can't, like with it, like because God is obviously overwhelming power, he can't test Job in any way, like make appearance. He can't harm his family. He can't. I'm sure there's some laws that Satan's bound by, right? He can't take a life.
Well, didn't he kill his wife because his wife and kids were dead?
So I'm saying but one of Job's sons was evil. He was a wicked, but still. Anyways, that's another topic.
He couldn't kill Job, but he could kill everybody else.
Yeah, that's another topic for another time. But basically, he's saying that if you let me do anything to them, I'll break them and I'll turn them against you. And God was like he knows that Job has so much faith in him that nothing Satan could do would turn him from God, right? So he lets him do whatever he wants, and he kills his family. He inflicts sickness upon him, and I think that's when his wife died. And then his son gets killed. I don't want to, again, I'm a little foggy on it, but I'm pretty sure he gets crushed.
Yeah.
And then he takes all of his riches from him, strips him down. He's literally winds up being nothing but a sick, poor, homeless guy with nobody, no family, no anything, and he still is on the floor worshiping God and thanking God for his life and showing faith in God and thanking him through it all. You know what I mean? Like he still has he's still here. He's still standing.
Yeah.
And it was just a true testament to true faith. Like he went through the worst of the worst that this world has to offer.
Yeah.
And through it all, his faith never even flickered.
Yeah.
So it's a good example of faith that everybody uses.
But some people take it negatively.
Back to the old conversation. That's what I'm saying is anybody could take that and be like, hey, that's super unjust. Here's another one is when the 12 sons of...
Hold on. But back to your original point, what you're saying is you think, or did you say that you think a lot of the Bible is a fable just to kind of show people?
Yeah, so I was saying is I think most of the Old Testament is told in story form. Like
in order to get people to understand concepts and less to like actually record
I don't know
history.
if it's just, I honestly don't know what the purpose was of why it's like that. It's just the stories, the story of Noah, all these stories are told in story form.
Yeah.
Versus the rest of it is like a written account of what happened.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
So what I was saying, and this ties back to what I was saying, I think the reason the Bible is a successful manuscript, and it has been successful in terms of just longevity. It's one of the oldest, most widely distributed texts that we have in recorded history. I think the reason...
Except for Harry Potter.
I'm sorry. I thought we kind of just assumed that, yeah, obviously I'm not, except for Harry Potter.
Sadly.
No, it's been like the most successful text basically for so many thousands of years, and the simple fact is because it's valuable. And I think the story of Job in particular is a valuable story because it could show somebody illiterate living in a cave with no real education, no business degree, no freaking high school diploma, no nothing. Someone that can't even read or write, if you told them that story and they remembered that, and they went through life and they built up and they had a wife and a huge, family and a big flock of sheep and cattle and chickens and land and farms, and then a natural disaster came and wiped them out, how much more likely is it that that guy is going to remember and think back to that story and think, hey,
let me be a great man.
the worst of the worst of the worst just happened, but the same thing happened in the story, and this man managed to persevere and gain everything back times 10 because he continued to have faith and he continued to work forward and continue to persist, versus somebody who'd never heard that story and thought, holy fuck, this is the worst thing that's anyone's ever experienced, and I should just give up and die now.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, I know that obviously the religious part of it's really important to a lot of people, but to me, the value I really get out of the Bible is just the fact, and I think the value that the Bible really has provided, because I don't think, regardless of whether you believe the Bible or not, it wouldn't have continued to exist for so many thousands of years if it wasn't valuable. And I think the main value in the Bible, whether true or false, whether an actual history or just a story...
Well, that's irrelevant, though.
...is that it has important concepts in it that people can easily remember, which makes it very effective. So
yeah,
I'm actually...
Yeah, but I'm saying you're saying that it existing because it's relevant to people is kind of, I don't know how to say, like a null point, because that's, I hate to say obvious, but it was created to be benefit.
It's not obvious humanity. Because there's a lot of people out there that think the Bible, the Bible is just a dumb book invented by a bunch of
misogynistic
assholes, a bunch of people that wanted power and control, which I'm sure there's a certain amount of that going on. There's always going to be. And people basically throw out the baby with the bathwater. They throw it all and say this is just some bullshit book that they fucking use for thousands
some seriously lost souls do that.
No, a lot. I would say the majority of people, our generation.
Yeah, of our generation. But here's a fun topic: is the story of Noah. It's coming up recently a lot that like the story of Noah is fake, right? I don't know why it's trending.
Who?
Just on the internet. Just randomly you'll get on the internet.
Basically, you're saying it.
Yeah.
But not like Mormons all still believe in it. Right?
Well, of course. I'm just saying, like, I'm not even baptized.
No, I know.
I'm just saying, like,
the religious community still believes.
The religious community obviously still does. But I'm saying, like, a lot of people will randomly come up. I just have seen it lately of stories of Noah. Been like 3 or 4 that I've seen, and then they'll just have in the tens of thousands of people comedy, and I filter through countless comments, and the vast majority of them is it's bullshit, this never happened, oh you guys are so ridiculous for believing this shit, like just comment after comment dissing on the fact that it never even happened, and you'd have to be retarded to believe that Noah fit 2 of every kind inside of a boat.
Okay,
you know what I mean? And they'll try to deconstruct the story to fit whatever belief system they want. But it's just sad to me that if you read it, like history repeats itself. That is literally exact. If you go back a couple chapters, right before the flood happened, that's exactly what the people were saying before the flood happened, right? So it's just kind of ironic to me. And now it's like, apparently we're ready for the next flood, okay? Because these are exactly what's happening again. And
well, it's all cyclical. In other words, history just keeps repeating itself over and over and over and over again.
And it's just, you got a lot of our generation. They're all a bunch of young bucks on there and spouting off about how it don't make sense and it don't make fact. I think a lot of people want to believe in the only thing they only want to believe in things that they can see.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But hell, I believe that buffalo exists in Africa, and I've never seen one. Shit, you know what I mean? Like
buffalo.
I'm just
like
using a
buffalo?
random. I'm just using a random example, as in like there are so many things.
I know, but if you wanted to go to Africa, you could go see a water. It wouldn't be that expensive.
My point is probably even a bad example. I'm just using an example. Is there is countless things in the earth that you will never see in your lifetime, but you believe in them because they're a part of your life. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Let me try finding a better example here.
Yeah, find a better example, because like a water buffalo is pretty. You can have a picture of a water buffalo. Like, I mean, it'd be pretty hard to like fake that there's water buffalo. Kind of like the flat Earth thing. Like, it's a little bit harder to prove that the Earth is round, but it's not that It's like, it's not impossible.
Okay, I'm trying to think of a better example.
Something we all believe that we don't have proof of.
Yeah, in other words, what's something that everybody believes in that they don't have proof of that's in the world?
That's hard, bro. Most things that people like generally believe in, they have proof of.
Okay, so I'm failing right now because I can't think of it.
I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to think of something.
But I promise you, I know I feel like I'm almost aiding them right now. But my point is that there is a lot of things in the world that you don't understand. Nobody knows how they work unless a scientist tells them how they work.
Yeah.
Even like, let's just even say the frickin' weather, dude. Nobody understands how it all works, but they'll trust that scientists do, and they'll trust us. Here's the best example. Actually, I got a perfect one, real quick. Do you know how seeds work?
Hold on.
No, just real quick. Let me explain my example real quick.
Well, the thing is,
do you know how seeds work? Do you know how trees grow?
I don't, but I could figure out pretty easily.
How could you figure that out?
I could grow one.
No, I know, but how could you figure out the exact science behind how a seed can grow? A tiny little seed can grow a redwood.
I could go plant one, and I could watch it grow.
That wouldn't do nothing. That proves its existence, but that doesn't prove the science of how it happens.
It actually
the
goes
science
from being
behind
a seed to a tree?
Yeah, how does it grow from being a seed to a tree? You don't know that, right?
But I could look it up.
Okay, you could look it up, right? Okay, where does that come from?
It comes from people that have done experiments and like looked at it.
So you're going to trust that, though?
Well, the thing is, I don't have to trust it, because if I truly disbelieved it enough, I could get a microscope and I could plant 300 seeds.
You could do the same thing.
I could dissect
you could do the same thing in religion, though. You really could.
How though?
In what do you mean how?
Well, you're trying to, because you're comparing the belief in
No,
God
I'm comparing
to
the fact that
belief in
99% of every single person believes anything given to him by some man who said something or wrote a book about it. Okay, they'll take a science book and all of a sudden you're so smart because you understand how the solar system works, but you'll never go to space. You'll never see how the solar system works. You'll never see how what gases are in Uranus or whatever. You'll never really truly know that, and it's impossible for you to discover it. But they have, and then they have a book about it, right? And everybody reads these books and listens to these people, and then you just have, dare I say, faith that they're true.
Well, here's the difference, Cole. Here's the difference. I'm not trying to disprove God. I'm just trying to go along with your line of logic here. I'm not trying to.
Yeah, go for it.
But your line of logic is that people write books, and you have to just decide what you want to believe in and just have faith in it, because no one's going to take the time to actually figure out whether or not.
It's not that no one will take the time. It's that a lot of things have to go off faith, because there's no hard evidence of it.
The thing is that the things that I don't understand, like how a seed grows, if I wanted to, truly understand how a seed grows badly enough, I could go to the actual science that was done to figure out how they were grown, and I could repeat. The thing about science and scientific evidence or proof, that one of the main rules in science is it has to be repeatable.
Yeah,
so
no,
anytime they make a law, it has to be like, we
repeatable.
conducted this experiment, and every time we do the experiment, this happens, and this is why it happens. So you could go to any scientific experiment, any telescope that's looking at doing calculations to figure out, how far away planets are. What they're
I understand that.
You could take any one of those experiments, and you could, in theory, go repeat the experiment with the right tools and equipment and come up with the same conclusions or find a way to disprove them. But the thing about God in the Bible is that's not something, it's not the same, it's not comparable, because you cannot repeat
Actually,
the same experience.
science 100% backs a God.
Oh, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that I disbelieve in God or that I disbelieve that we're created. I'm saying the analogy you're making between believing science on faith, even though you don't understand it, and believing God on faith, even though you can't prove it, is it's a false. Like, it's not a good analogy.
No, it is, because you'll never do it.
Well,
you accept it because you have faith in scientists.
Well, it's not that I'll never do it. It's
The fact that you could if you wanted to.
I could if I wanted to, and nobody's stopping anyone from doing it.
Well, actually,
and it's also it's repeatable though.
No, it kind of is. But what I'm trying to say is that you'll never will, and the vast majority of people never will. And I get your point. It's a solid point. That if you wanted to dedicate your life to discovering that one fact to see if it was true or false, you could come to some your own conclusion if it was true or false. Right? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is
in other words, if you wanted to plant that seed to figure out how a tree grows, you really could figure it out.
Yeah, and you
could dedicate your life and figure out exactly how the tree grows.
Sure, but the difference is that that's pretty much the point I'm trying to make.
My point though is that you never will. You'll just accept on faith the scientists who say that that's how it works, and my only point to all of that is that is a lot of the Bible. You have to have faith on it. You're never going to go and even though it's not really repeatable, like you're saying, I get your point there, but that the same way people have faith in the Bible is like people having faith in science and having faith in other speakers. You're just choosing the information given, and then you're deciding what's true.
But here's where me and you may differ: is that I tend to, because I don't necessarily believe in the Bible, is what I'm saying. Is I don't as a factual story or as a history. I don't know whether it happened or not. It doesn't really affect me personally whether it happened or not. It does affect a lot of people that believe in it because they base their life off of it. I don't base my life off of it because I cannot prove whether, if I really want.
Who bases their life? I mean,
well,
obviously you get religions that are like cultish and that base their whole existence, and I don't even think that that's healthy or good. All I think of the Bible is written for is to help people out.
No, I agree. I 100% agree the same thing with you. But what I'm saying is that you can't prove the history or any of the historical accuracy of the Bible.
Yeah, they can.
In the same,
they have proven. Scientists have proven that a great flood has happened.
Sure. Time
and time again. In your same statement of that they've done mathematical calculations of how the Earth is formed, the layers that it has, like the layers of dirt. There's like a giant layer of hard dirt that tells them that there was a massive flood. There's all kinds of evidence that backs up that there was a massive flood way back in the day.
That specific example, Noah's flood, I've watched a few documentaries where they talk about in theory how this could have been the flood or this or whatever, different geological events that could have been the flood.
Yeah.
But they don't have a consensus saying this was the exact flood. I mean, there's people that say, yes, this is the flood and this is why. But there's also people saying that could just be circumstantial evidence, kind of like the hollow earthers. There's people that believe in hollow earth and this is why earth is hollow, or this is why the earth is flat, this is our evidence. But there's not a general consensus about their evidence, and there's a lot of counter evidence. The flood's kind of a hard one because the flood is plausible. I'm not saying the flood isn't plausible, and that's just one story out of the Bible.
Like, what other story out of the Bible though is too hard to believe?
It's not that any of them are too hard to believe. It's just that you don't know if it actually happened or if it was a good story, maybe loosely based on an event that happened.
I know, but how hard really is it to even believe in something like that? Do you believe that the Civil War happened?
Yes, but because there's actually like recent evidence of the Civil War.
And there's evidence of a flood. There's evidence.
Sure.
There's
I'm not
let's
saying
say
there
the
wasn't a
pyramids.
big
How
flood.
old are the pyramids? Like, how old are you have?
Here's the deal. Okay, the pyramids are an example. We all believe the pyramids were built, but
Because you can
nobody
see 'em.
Yeah, but nobody can agree on how they were built or even who built them.
Actually, they have a lot of evidence.
Well, they have a lot of theories.
Theories, yeah, whatever.
But nobody actually knows how. Like, no, it's like one of life's greatest. The history. The pyramids aren't even that old. They're like what, 4,000 years old,
Yeah.
6,000 years old. We're not even sure exactly. I mean, we have theories as to how they built the pyramids, but we don't know exactly how they built the pyramids.
Yeah, but my only point.
It's not that I don't believe in the pyramids. The point
I don't
is
believe
that
they're right there.
the point is that
We're denying their existence.
But if somebody said, this is how the pyramids were built, infallibly, without a doubt, this is the exact schedule they used, I'd say, how do you know that? What's the evidence? Well, we just believe. I'd say, okay, well, believe. I don't care if you believe.
Well,
but
here's
why would I
one for you.
believe? Because it doesn't really help me in any way to believe your specific theory if there isn't like any proof to back it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but my point is, at the end of the day, most things go off of faith. Good sound effect. But most things go off of faith. You know what I mean? Or not even most. I should just say a lot goes off of faith. You have faith in history. You have faith in the stories. Even, let's say, the Civil War story you're told.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you it's not accurate.
Sure.
I guarantee that is not the reasons they're giving.
But
is not an accurate an account of all the true events that aspired during that war.
But would you agree?
Winners, the only people.
The closer in history, the further back in history we go, the less accurate the stories probably are because we have a lot less information.
Yeah, I would say that, but
so that's what I'm saying about the Bible.
Other than the Bible, because the Bible isn't so old as far as they didn't have a Bible in biblical times. They found those manuscripts. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And translated them.
But you don't know.
Have them.
You don't know how long the stories existed before they were written into a manuscript and how often they were changed as they were told person to person.
Yeah, they have a rough idea of how old every one of those stories are.
Okay, but I guess I don't know.
They have a rough idea just because of the stories given in the Bible of dating back how long each person that the story talks about, how long they lived before them, and then if you work backwards, they know more or less how old it is.
I'm not disagreeing with that. What was our original disagreement on, though? You're saying that the Bible, the only point I'm trying to make here is that believing the Bible or believing in God and religion, I guess, in general, just based on faith, is not the same thing as believing in something that can be repeated and proven to anybody. That's kind of like the whole...
But to be fair, the Bible teaches you that if you repeat what they did, you will end up with the same results.
Where specifically, where does it say that in the Bible?
Shoot, dude, I don't know, but ask and you shall receive, knock and the door shall be open unto you, seek and you shall find.
Sure.
And it's all the stories of the Bible are of great men who did great things.
Sure.
And if you lived a life just like they did, you'll receive the same blessings, or you will have the same experiences they had.
And a lot of the principles and philosophies, I'd say, discussed in the Bible have a lot of truth and value to them, which makes it a valuable manuscript, which is why it survived, because it's valuable, it's true, basically.
Yeah,
like
but
true to the degree that
that proves that the Bible's true. Now, I understand you saying that not everything in the Bible is true. Not everybody believes in that. Well, most people don't believe that the whole Bible is true. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's why they have the Book of Mormon. But one of the probably more true things is that you can go off of. That's a good example, I should say, of how to live a life is the law of the harvest. It's talked about. Anything you give out in life, if we can agree on this, anything you give out in life, you receive. You know, you
in general.
In general, you put hard work, you get rewarded for your hard work. Let's say you get money, like kindness is returned with kindness. Yeah. Anger, hate, like any seeds you plant, that's what you grow. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? You plant a seed, you invest money, you invest it properly in something, then you'll receive a profit. Like, it's just anything giving out in life is what you receive. It's called the law of the harvest.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but and I agree with you in this. So just to paraphrase what you're saying, because maybe I misunderstood you from the beginning. You're saying that you have to believe the Bible in the same way you believe in science, as in, like, you have to believe the principles of the Bible are correct, not necessarily the actual historical accuracy.
I'm saying that's a good place to start. If that's all you took from the Bible, then you're winning. You know what I mean? And here's something that's interesting. You could read the Bible countless times, and every time you read it, you get something new out of it that you didn't understand before. Mm-hmm. That's fact. Everybody who's read it multiple times, they reread it, and then there's something there that they missed, and they learned something new.
Yeah.
And my point is that going back to the Noah's flood, like the millennial saying it never happened, is just so idiotic to me of their examples given, because in their everyday life they don't do studies on the COVID. They don't do studies on global warming. They don't do studies on countless things that they believe in. But these one events piss them off so bad that they refuse to believe it. Mm-hmm. It's like, how do you live your life believing in all these different things that you can't prove, but yet you just choose to not believe in this one thing? It's too far-fetched for you to believe in. Does that make sense?
That actually does kind of make sense.
That's my original point, is that, like, why is it so hard for you to believe in something when you choose to believe in so many other things that can't be that aren't proven to you?
Okay, so here's what to answer your question. Because some beliefs that you just kind of take for granted, like, let's just pick a belief that everyone kind of believes in that doesn't, it's not super. You believe that
we've been to the moon.
No, I don't believe we've been to the moon.
Oh my gosh.
You fucking heretic.
Fuck.
Get out of my... I'm just kidding. This is your house. No, like something that isn't really consequential that everyone believes. Let's just say that... if you hit a brick wall going 90 miles an hour, you'll die. Okay. Everyone believes that.
Yeah, there you go.
It's not really something that you need to test.
You're not gonna test that theory.
Fuck you! I can hit it going as fast as I want. I won't die. People don't really need to test that to believe that. If you hit something going really fast, you're gonna die. Right? Okay. Whether you believe that or not, causing you to disbelieve. Okay, actually, that's actually not a great example, because basically the point I'm trying to make here is that certain things have a really big impact on your life if you believe them. For instance, if you decided you're going to go be a Buddhist. Let's pick Buddhism, because neither of us are. You're not Buddhist, right? No. I'm not Buddhist either. The Buddhists, based upon what I know of Buddha, it's been a long time, I haven't studied him super in depth, but he has, I think, like 6 rules or 5 rules, and his belief in general is that you're trying to reach a state of nirvana where you're neither hurting nor being hurt by anything. You're just in a perfect Zen state, and your ultimate goal in life is to achieve, like, and I could be butchering this. There's going to be Buddhists out there fucking pissed at me. But you're basically trying to achieve a perfect balance between good karma and bad karma. So when you do something good, you get good karma. If you do something bad, you have bad karma. And every time you die with a karma debt where you have more bad karma out there than good karma, then basically you reincarnate into a new life and you restart, and you're constantly just trying to remove all your bad karma and then basically just poof out of existence into nirvana. That's basically the whole premise of Buddhism, to my understanding. There's going to be somebody out there saying, go fuck yourself, it's not true. But can we agree that basically the purpose of Buddhism is to achieve...
I mean, I don't know, so I'll say, yeah, I've really
So
studied
if you
Buddha
believe in Buddha's teachings, it's going to greatly affect your life, right?
Well, yeah.
Whether it's good or bad, it's going to make a humongous impact. Whether you believe in Buddha's teachings or not, it's going to make a humongous impact on how you live your life and overall what kind of experience you're going to have. So what I'm saying is that the reason I wouldn't just take something on somebody's, basically take somebody at their word and say, oh, I believe in a bunch of other things that I've never actually proved. I've never proved that there's the earth is round.
Yeah.
I've never proved the earth is round, but I believe it without ever doing the research because it's something that makes sense. Everyone else believes in it.
Yeah.
But if you say, Gilbert, there's a guy named Buddha, and he has this whole theory about existence and nirvana and karma and blah, 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 and he has these 6 rules, and you start following them. You need to make sure to reduce your karmic debt or whatever the heck it's called. That would make a humongous impact on my life. So to answer your question as to why I choose to believe things without doing the work myself to like find the evidence and do the actual test myself, versus why I choose to believe some things versus other things, is because some things have a huge impact on your life.
Yeah, but it's either for better or worse. So if you take how you're believing and you read the Bible, then how could you not only take the good out of it to benefit your life for the better?
No, I do. Like I say, I'm not dissing on the Bible. I like the Bible.
Okay, so the story of Noah that we're
book.
talking about, that everybody is trying to break apart and say that it's so artificial. Why?
Well, I think those people...
Does that have an impact on their life? Is it so hard to believe? If you did believe it, would it change? What would it change?
People that... Well, there's different branches. I don't know specifically who's making these claims one way or another, or what their motive is for disproving the whole Great Flood thing. But just to play the devil's advocate here, there's obviously a lot of branches of Christianity, and there's a lot of good and bad that comes out of it. So based on your experience, you may look at the Bible and say, look how many problems it's caused, and look at all the wars that have been fought over this, and look at all the people that fight and suffer and die, and the people that are unnecessarily putting themselves through bullshit that can't even be proved. We need to stop this. I want to fight about this on Twitter.
What war was ever fought over beliefs alone?
The Crusades, bro.
The Crusades. Was it though?
Fuck, dude.
No, was it though?
Over belief? What do you mean specifically?
Was it actually fought over the way they believed, or was that just how they told people?
Yeah.
No, that's not. It was just what they told people why they're invading. Was it not fought for power? It was just fought for power.
A lot of things, but well. Okay, I'm not super well versed in history, but okay, I'll take back the Crusades. If you read the Quran, it says in the Quran that people that do not follow the Islamic religion should be killed. They're infidels.
Yeah.
So that is a belief, and they kill people all the time for being gay, for being I don't know what they kill people for being
they're
certain
extremists.
Things. Yeah.
In their belief.
I'm sure. In the Bible it says if a man lies with another man, he must be stoned. They've been killing gays for thousands of years.
And what's wrong with that?
Look, the point is...
It says that they stoned people that they did.
Yeah, and they stoned people for a lot of things based on the Old Testament.
They stoned people for disrespecting their parents.
They stoned people for fucking wearing 2 cloths of separate fabrics together.
I've never heard that one.
According to the law of Moses, you're not supposed to wear 2 cloths of separate fabrics. So you can't wear like wool with cotton. Like you can't wear a wool skirt with a cotton top, or else they'll stone you to death.
Yeah,
There's
the
a
law.
lot of
I do
things.
know
So-
the law of Moses was extremely harsh, and that was done away with. That was fulfilled by Jesus.
Yeah,
right?
but I'm just saying that what you just said about when has anyone ever killed anyone over belief, it's happened a lot. Like a lot.
Okay, you said wars were fought, and I'm saying you that was the one. I'm saying not really, not very many. I should say wars are fought over a belief alone. People have killed people over beliefs.
Well, people have massacred. I mean, look at Hitler and the Jews. He killed people for being Jewish. That was a belief.
I know, but did he? That's my point. It
I don't-
wasn't.
did he not?
No, he didn't.
Why? What did
He
he
just
kill
said that. He made a comment about it, that he killed the Jews because they were Jewish, but that's not really why he did it. He did it for power. He did it. He was taking over Germany, and he did it because the Jews were invading and taking over. More and more Jews were coming into Germany and taking prominent positions, and he didn't like it. He thought that they should all be. He was afraid that Germans would get bred out.
Sure. Okay. So aside from that, back to why I'm just playing the devil's advocate here, but back to why somebody on Twitter would say, "Fuck you, the flood never happened, you piece of shit, you idiot."
Yeah.
You can prove it never happened is because maybe they've seen examples of when people have taken an idea or belief and used it as power against other people and been like, "Hey, the Bible says this, and we're translating it this way, which means from now on we're killing all gays and people are slaves," and like it happens all the time. I'm not saying it's. I'm not saying.
I would agree. Yeah, the Bible. It can get controversial when it comes to touchy subjects in our day and age that we live in.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It gets really touchy.
Which I'm not one of those naysayers. I don't give a fuck what people on Twitter say. I still like the Bible. I think it's cool.
Okay. My point, though, is that my original point to the flood and all that is that people have such a hard time, or that they'll go to the extreme is a better way of saying, they'll go to the extreme to put it down when it doesn't benefit them in any way.
To put it down.
To put it down, like to say that the flood never happened, to say that the Bible doesn't exist, to say all these things, and they're trying to break it apart. They'll go to over and beyond trying to prove that it never happened. Why? If all you did was read it, and then if you decided, hey, most of the stories aren't true, the Bible still has a whole lot of good. I don't give a shit who you are. It has good to offer you.
Sure.
The stories, you can take a lot of good out of those stories. And even if you're not a religious, if you're an atheist, you could take a lot of those stories and apply them to your life, and they would benefit you.
Sure. No, I 100% agree with you, but I would just say that a lot people do a lot of really stupid things in the name of religion. People do a lot of stupid things in general,
100%
and I'm just
they
saying
do.
that a lot of the outlash that I've personally seen about from people that are atheists that want to disprove the Bible and the cynicism they have towards it is generally stemming from the fact that there's so many examples of people doing really stupid things in the name of the Bible or in religion in general. Let's just say religion
But why
in
talk
general.
about just the negative? Why not talk about all the good things that people have done? You'd never hear about that.
Sure. No, and
I think more good has come from religion than bad.
I don't know if that's necessarily true.
That
Probably.
is 100% true.
Maybe.
You just don't hear about it. How many lives have been or would have been completely wasted had they not come to some form of religion? I mean, I'm going to go off the rocker. Not that I believe in all religions, okay? But almost every religion has truths in it,
Yeah.
and they're trying to benefit you in some way.
Sure.
Right? So how many people has religion made lives better? People who would have been drunks, druggies, rapists. In other words, if you did away with all religions, you did away with a God, you would have done away with consequence. And if you did get rid of consequence, everybody would be purging everybody.
Sure. No, and I actually 100% agree with what you said. But I think regardless of whether or not you believe in God or religion or the Bible, I think the fact, and this is just, regardless of anything you said, the fact that the Bible has existed for so long and that religions are so prominent in our society, to me, is a fact that they are valuable.
I mean,
it proves your point.
Yeah, I would say that's kind of obvious that it's valuable.
Well, sure, maybe not to everybody, probably to you, but I'm just saying to prove your point in a way that's not based on faith, but just based on like logic. The fact that religion has encompassed pretty much every culture throughout time.
I love that we are having a religious conversation.
Oh, I'm just because I agree with what you're saying, but I'm trying to prove it in a logical way. The fact
uneducated in religion, but it's cool.
The fact that it has literally pretty much dominated and encompassed every culture since recorded history, to me, says that it's valuable. And I think back to what you were saying earlier with what Jordan Peterson was saying about how people evolve, and what I was saying about how don't let the good be the enemy of the perfect, where in a perfect world we'd have proof for everything, right?
Yeah.
In a perfect world we'd be able to, repeat every spiritual experience. We'd be able to prove everything in the Bible. We'd be able to prove every single one of our beliefs super simply, just like that. But
what good would that be?
Well, it would make things very simple.
I know, but how exciting would life be?
Well, not about exciting. It's about everyone would be able, in a perfect world, everyone would be able to come to a perfect consensus on every point.
What do you think life after death is then at that point? That's what that is.
The fact that religion is so prominent means that it's valuable and it has utility, and in my mind, therefore means that it is good. And that's how I personally prove in a logical way that the Bible is, and religion in general is good, aside from just whatever you believe on a spiritual level.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, and that's all right.
But I think where you're coming into conflict with what people say on the internet about trying to disprove the flood and blah blah blah, and just trying to disprove things for the sake of disproving things and being contentious for the sake of being contentious is, well, first of all, people have the freedom of speech. I think people should be able to say what they want.
Well, 100%. But I'm not saying they shouldn't. It's just a retarded way to live your life.
I do think, to play the devil's advocate here, to basically my perception of it is that there's a lot of bullshit out there. Let's just say religion's good. Let's just say Christianity's good. We can both agree Christianity's good. We'll say Christianity's good, but there's a lot of other, cults out there. There's a lot of different ideas and philosophies out there that don't necessarily provide the same value that religion does, and we have to be able to disprove them. And in order to disprove them, we have to be willing to pick apart everything we believe in order to basically... Because if we can dissect every single one of our beliefs and get down to the core as to why we believe them, we're better equipped to disprove and not fall into the bullshit like the cults and the various different
lies. You're just saying to prove truths.
So like
disregard lies.
So your argument for just believing in the Bible for the sake that the Bible can have a benefit on your life, that same argument could be used for someone to describe flat Earth or hollow Earth. They could say,
no, it can't.
Well, it can't.
No, I'm going to tell you, it can't, because whether the Earth was round or flat, it doesn't benefit your life one bit.
People can make that same argument about the Bible, though.
No, I know, but my point is everybody has the right to their beliefs, but to me that's just not true. I don't care if you're an atheist. Again, I'll say it again. Mm-hmm. Even if you're an atheist, the Bible does have benefit to you personally. Because if you're living a life, everybody knows if you live your life in a certain way, you reap what you sow, and you'll have a miserable life. Everybody who's an atheist is way more miserable than people who aren't. That's just factual. The happiness is different. Everybody in life is searching for one thing: fulfillment. Mm-hmm. Okay, in one way or another. And this world doesn't have so many different ways for fulfillment. The human what?
Cole, you'd be a great cult leader, but you're wrong. You're wrong, bro. Here's the thing: people could make the same argument you're making to back up anything, though. Anything that you... Because, okay, there's people that get a lot of fulfillment out of believing the earth is fucking flat. I know a lot of people that's like their whole fucking shtick in life, is that they've literally, like, we have relatives that have written books on the earth being flat. And, they get a lot of fucking fulfillment out of that. So you could use the same argument that you're giving me.
No, I see where you're going. I see where you're going with that. Like, it makes them happy to think that the world's flat.
It makes them feel fulfilled.
Okay, it don't...
It makes my grandma
listen
feel
real quick.
fulfilled.
And at the end of the day, that I don't care. That's a false sense of fulfillment, because at the end of the day, when you died, and the one thing that you left on Earth was that proof that the world was flat, was that a good life?
It's relative.
No, was it? Well, I mean, to them, I guess, was it a good life? I mean,
sure to some
or was
people.
the kindness that you showed, the memories, the people that remember you after death, the impact is what I'm saying. The impact that you left on the world more important.
That's kind of a subjective question.
I mean, okay, whatever. I don't. That's just how I see it. In other words,
it depends on what you value.
Okay, I'm just saying that's not just how I see it. In other words, how I'm coming across it is that if what you left on the world was disproving Noah's Ark, let's just say you spent your whole life because that gave you fulfillment and happiness. Well, kudos to you. Mm-hmm. You know that's what you found happiness in. But the reality is that you won't be remembered. Nobody's gonna really even care. The argument will go on, whether it believes or not.
There's a lot of examples of people that have disproven things and made a lot of people really angry, that have actually gone on to completely change the way that we fundamentally think about different things. Like Galileo. Wasn't Galileo the first person to say the earth is round, and wasn't he thrown in prison for it? People are like, fuck you piece of shit, the earth is flat. Are you fucking retarded? Everybody knows. Look at the map. You go to the fucking library, look at the map. The map says the earth is fucking flat. It's very clear the earth is flat.
Okay, but Galileo also said that the earth was the center. Here's another thing about scientists. Galileo was the smartest man of his time, and he said that the earth was the center of the universe.
Well, hold on. Did he, or is that Copernicus?
No, I'm pretty sure it was Galileo. I'm pretty sure it was Galileo.
Well, who came first?
Don't make me question myself.
Okay, let's just say, for the sake of the podcast, that somebody at some point said that the Earth was round and got persecuted for it.
But he also thought it was the center of the universe.
But somebody else came along and said, "Hey, guess
what? Disproved that theory."
He did. He disproved that it was the center of the universe.
No, the next scientist came along after he died, and he disproves that.
And there were people in his village named just like you, Kohler, saying, fuck this guy. He's out here telling everyone the earth is round. There's no purpose to it. It doesn't affect anyone's life. We can't even go that far anyways. We can only walk and go on horses. We can't go that fucking far. We reach the ocean. We can't go anywhere.
Okay, I see how you're deconstructing my idea here.
Well, it needs to be deconstructed.
No, I see.
It's a flawed argument.
Okay,
what I'm saying.
I'm not perfect, dude.
I'm not saying you are.
Nor are my arguments. I'm just saying it like... People are contentious towards the Bible for the sake of being contentious, because they've lived such miserable...
How do you know that? Maybe they're being contentious for the sake of trying to figure out what's actually objectively true.
Because I haven't talked to everybody in the world, dude, but every time you get in an argument with somebody who's an atheist, or you get in an argument with someone, their sole purpose, or somebody who's been through a horrible experience in religion, my heart goes out to them.
Sure.
But their sole purpose in life after that is to disprove that God exists, because that gives them fulfillment. But it's like why are you soul set on something that is negative?
Well, not necessarily. I think you're casting a broad blanket on everyone that's atheist and saying all atheists are like this, and I disagree with doing that to any group. But I would say that a good argument, a good reason to disprove things in general, the Bible or otherwise,
is to find truths.
To find truths, because the truth's always going to be better than... Because otherwise, if you just believe in everything for the sake of wanting to believe in everything and wanting, people just be happy with their whatever story they believe, then you end up in bullshit religions, bullshit cults, bullshit ideologies.
Okay, that is true, but it don't take away from the fact we're getting way out here now. We're going down rabbit holes.
Mm-hmm.
But my point is that if you're going to focus your life on something, why focus it on disproving a hateful or doing it with contention? Does that make sense?
That makes sense, but what you're saying is everybody that tries to disprove the Bible is doing it because they want to cause contention. I disagree with that. I think people should disprove the Bible.
Well, they should try, but even still, it's retarded to try to disprove it, is my point, because whether it is true or false, it is beneficial. Sure. It is, like you said, it is valuable. So why are you even trying to disprove it? It is valuable whether it is true or false.
Valuable is somewhat subjective because what is valuable to you may not be valuable to somebody else. It'd be like Cole.
That's not true in this case.
Cole, it'd be like if I went and locked you in the Williston Ark.
Bro, that's not true. I know your point. It's not true in this case, though.
What's not true?
The Bible, that it doesn't hold value to some people. They'll say it don't hold value to them, but if they read the Bible and they still didn't believe in it, the principles given in the Bible are still beneficial.
Okay, here's another example that I feel like is pretty much on par with what you're saying. If I locked you in the Williston Ark for 5 years, and I fed you good fruits and vegetables, and I put you on a really good diet, okay, and I forced you to go work out every day,
okay,
and you just became this jacked, ripped freak of nature, and you were just in peak physical health, took away your vape, made you get 8 hours of sleep per night, it would add value to your life. You'd be a lot healthier. You'd be a lot more physically fit. But it would also remove value in other areas because you'd lose your freedom, right? So
okay.
I'd say the same thing with the Bible, where yes, I'm sure anyone could read the Bible and take away some valuable insights, but if you believe it without any kind of evidence to back it up, without the willingness to actually find evidence to support,
we're not talking about believing it at this point, though. We're not talking. What we're talking about is to go off of what you said. If you were to lock me, nobody's forcing you into religion.
Yeah.
Right? So just like I'm not being forced to work out here. But it is a fact that if I did work out, it would benefit me.
But a lot of people,
I would become jacked.
I would be healthier. Do believe that they're being forced into religion. They think that by raising children to believe in the Bible and telling them if you believe in this, you'll go to hell, that's a form of forcing people to believe in something without letting it basically be their choice. Maybe the person becomes a better person because they don't rape, they don't steal, they don't freaking commit adultery. But they're being forced to do it.
Nobody's being forced to do anything. You did that by your own free will and choice. Nobody is forced to do anything.
Well,
no, they're doing it because they're scared or for one reason. I get what you're saying, but they still have the choice to choose that or not. They could disregard it if they wanted to, or they couldn't. You could go to work out if you wanted to, and then they're saying if you don't work out, you're going to die at this age. Oh, fuck it. Now I have to go work out to survive longer. You still have that choice. You can still go and exercise.
I feel like I disagree with you, but we should wrap this up, though.
Yeah, it is getting late. I actually need to get to bed. Do you want to
be found on social media? Do you want to give the audience your phone number so they can call you?
No, thank you.
Well, I guess that's a wrap then. Bye, everybody.